All right, Andre Ward is a former two-division world champion, boxing Hall of Famer, Sports Illustrated's Fighter of the Decade for the 2010s. Had to get that in there. On September 13th, he'll be ringside for the call of the Canelo Alvarez-Terence Crawford Undisputed Super Middleweight Showdown, which you can watch exclusively on Netflix. And Andre, I know you're calling the fight, but are you also unofficially scoring the fight as well? Because I'd imagine that's going to be a not fun job for whoever gets it.
Yeah, I don't I hope not, because that's not really something I enjoy doing. I always have a scorecard that I have to track. But it's tricky trying to watch a fight to commentate and then watch a fight to score. So I try to pass that off to somebody that's exclusively doing that. But we'll see. You never know.
Believe me, I get it. I could have at the zone. I could have the greatest call I've ever had, ever bring insights never before
That's
seen. But if I get one round wrong,
yes,
Andre, one
yes,
round wrong, I got to eat
yes.
shit on Twitter for
I
the
hear
next 3 or 4 days.
all the time, man.
It's all good. I say that, I bring that up because while this is a massive fight, massive event, I'm not anticipating it being some kind of Hagler-Hearns-esque showdown. I'm imagining something far more cagey where rounds are far more competitive. As you kind of think about the story of this fight, how do you see it playing out?
Man, I have about 10 different scenarios, which is why I'm ready for this fight to be here already, because I'm not fighting, obviously, but I've thought about this fight a lot, and you have ideas, but we don't know. We just don't know. I personally think that given what is at stake and given where both of these fighters are in their careers, I mean, Canelo seems to want to keep fighting and not stop anytime soon, but he does have a lot of miles on the odometer, and I'm not sure how much longer Terence Crawford wants to fight. Like they both need this, like they need it in a bad way. I think it's going to be a lot more action than we realize. Of course, there's going to be tactics and strategy, but I think that even that's going to be at a high level. Um, there were certain spots in, the three Golovkin fights with Canelo where, they weren't just standing there. They had moments where they were, but there was a lot of, from Canelo, he's really good from the waist up with his defense, and he's slipping and rolling, and Golovkin's coming forward. And it was high level stuff in certain spots. I think we'll see that. But I do believe that there are going to be some toe the line moments for Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford, because they really, really need this fight.
When you look back at the history of super fights like this or high profile fights, I mentioned Hagler Hearns. I don't think it's going to be that. But is there a fight that you can think of that you watched over the years that you could compare this to? Do you think it's going to play out like?
It's tough. I don't. I don't. This is a class all by itself. And I say that because though Terence Crawford can box, I look at Terence Crawford as a puncher boxer. I look at Canelo Alvarez as a puncher boxer, not the other way around. If they move, it's either to rest or get in position to do what they really want to do: start a fight and land a punch that's going to change the course of the night. So I can't just say that Terence is going to outbox him. We know what he's going to do. I don't know. You got to do. Both of these fighters are extremely stubborn, and you cannot be great for any extended period of time and not have that stubbornness about you. Even though Canelo Alvarez has some blemishes on his record, there's a perfectly good reason for each one, the draws and the losses. So he's been outclassed by Mayweather, but he's never been beat up and shut out and stopped. So his confidence and stubbornness is at an all-time high. The same can be said about Terence Crawford, and that's why I feel like, given the weight disparity, given their mentality, this fight is in a class by itself. And I just think that we're going to have high level boxing because every punch is going to matter, because Terence does not want to lose to Canelo Alvarez, and vice versa. But they're going to stand their ground at some point in time. Canelo wants to prove that I am the bigger man. And Crawford doesn't appreciate being called the smaller man, which is why you saw him press up on Canelo at the press conference to send a subtle, not so subtle message that you're not as big as everybody's saying you are. So I think it's going to be a great fight that's going to stand alone.
A couple of years ago, Jamel Charlo, sorry, moved up 2 weight classes to fight Canelo, got blown out, wasn't competitive. Now, it's not unprecedented for a smaller guy to beat a bigger guy. Sugar Ray moved up a couple of weight classes to beat Hagler. Obviously, Roy jumps up to heavyweight to beat John Ruiz. But more often than not, size does matter. Weight classes, as they say, do exist for a reason. Tell me in your mind why Crawford is the kind of fighter that can buck those odds, that can do the unexpected and jump up 2 weight classes in his first fight and beat someone like Canelo.
A few of the things are the things that we see, the tangibles, skill set. Like Terence wants to fight before he boxes, but we've seen him box. I think one advantage he has that's not being talked about enough is that Canelo Alvarez has been preparing for 2 different fighters. Terence Crawford has been preparing for one. You don't know if he's going left-handed or right-handed. That starts to weigh on you throughout camp because you just don't know. Even throughout the course of the fight, he can easily switch. I've had success. Canelo could be having success with Crawford being in the right-handed stance, and all of a sudden now I'm fighting southpaw. So that's a huge advantage for Terence Crawford. But I think what it really boils down to is the stuff you can't see. I think it's extreme competitiveness. And for guys that are competitive, it's like win or die. And that's not just a tagline. You won't actually die, but it's win or feel like it was a death. And I got to replay this and live with this and have this on my mind and on my resume and this staying forever. And for a truly competitive one, you don't want that. So I think that's really going to be the difference maker for him. It's not Bo Mac's going to do his job. Saul's going to do his job. Red, the team's going to do their job. But it's in here and it's in here. There's going to be moments where I think he's going to step on the gas, and it's going to be exciting to see Canelo step back and see what happens.
You're a guy, though, Andre, that when you made your move to 175, you did it on your time, and you were meticulous with how you got to the point where you were ready to fight a Sergey Kovalev. You were ready at that point physically to take on a challenge like that. Do you think that Bud truly understands kind of what those extra 14 pounds are going to feel like, what an opponent that, hits at a 168 level hits like?
He won't fully know until September 13th. But he's done the best he can, that he can to do the math and project. And man, I fought bigger guys before. Man, I actually walk around about 185, 188. Man, I sparred a heavyweight last camp. You do the best you can. And I don't think Terence Crawford, I was going to say, I don't think Terence Crawford would have took this fight if he didn't think he could win. But I truly don't believe that Terence believes that anybody can beat him. So you got to show him. And that's the beautiful thing about these fights is we have a date. So we can do this and we should do this. But ultimately, you guys got to figure it out. And I think weight is going to be a factor, but I don't think it's going to be the primary factor in this fight if Canelo wins.
What do you think the primary factor would be?
I think it's the total package. I think he's going to have to box when it's time to box. And boxing may be right in front of Terence, but not getting hit. I think he's going to have to, land the right shots to get the respect that he needs to get. And really make the necessary adjustments along the way. Got your base game plan, but what about the nuances? Hey, man, he didn't like that. Let me go back there. Oh, man, this isn't working. Let me go away from that and come back to it in 2 rounds. It's all that kind of stuff. It's the same for both fighters. Like, what is the game plan? How did you prepare? But then we got to watch all these small adjustments and nuances that you do along the way. That's going to be the difference maker.
As crazy as it sounds, if Crawford had been coming off the Spence win and into this fight, I might be more optimistic about his chances than I am, because I saw the Madrimov fight and I saw a guy that reduced his power punch output, that was more judicious with his punches. When you watched the Madrimov fight, did that tell you anything about Crawford at an even higher weight class?
A little bit. I don't put as much into it as I see a lot of people putting into it. This is boxing. So Bernard Hopkins fights 2 life or death fights with Jermaine Taylor, and then all of a sudden he jumps up 2 weight classes and beats Antonio Tarver. How did that happen? So I think Madrimov was, in many respects, I think it was a style thing. Madrimov did not have a lot of fights, but he has a deep amateur pedigree, and he has a style that is going to be difficult for anybody. He's in your face, but he's not. He doesn't stop moving. His timing is great. Plus, you have Terence Crawford moving up in weight. And I didn't think that, I think Terence did what he had to do down the stretch, and I watched for that. Like, man, you need these next 2 rounds, and you saw him bite down and do more than what Majamov did, which is championship pedigree type stuff. But he didn't look sharp to me, and his body didn't really fill out like I thought it was going to at 154. Don't know what that is. So you have to have the Majamov fight as a reference, but it's not the end all be all. That was a stylistic thing, I think, the majority of the time, and you have to believe that Terence Crawford is going to be better this time out. And the same can be said about Canelo. If you think that Canelo Alvarez is going to look the way he did in his last fight against this guy, we're sadly mistaken. Canelo is crafty, right? Like not just XO crafty, but it's similar to a football team playing a preseason game. I'm not pulling out the playbook against you. I don't have to pull out my full playbook against this guy. I know you're ringside. I'm good enough to fight this fight. Yeah, it's close, but I'm going to do enough to win, and I'll see you September 13th, and I'll be a lot different September 13th, and that's what Canelo's going to do.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think people just can't fathom the circumstances of that last fight. Like fighting at 6 o'clock in the morning local time was crazy. Fighting a guy that I've never seen a fighter be that disengaged. I mean, clearly thought he could win that way doing what he did, but I've never seen that. That just, I don't look at that as being a sign that there has been a precipitous decline in Canelo Alvarez. I think there still is a pretty high level guy that's in there.
For sure.
The last thing for you is if Terence Crawford can pull it off, if he can beat Canelo, become undisputed at 168, 3-time undisputed champion of the world, where does that elevate him in your mind? What does that stamp him as if he wins this fight?
That's tough, but he's in that all-time great category. I think he's already in the conversation, but it just more secure, his legacy. It's just another stamp. 3-time undisputed is crazy. It's crazy.
I think it puts him in the all-time great. Like, he's clearly great. He's just struggled over the years to find the opponents to prove it against, right? Yeah. Like the number of Hall of Famers on his resume isn't all that deep. This would be a surefire first bout Hall of Famer. I mean, it would be unquestionably the biggest win of his career. And it would put him on kind of, I don't know if it's a Mount Rushmore of all-time greats, but it would be, in my opinion, take him 2 to 3 levels up on the all-time great list.
For sure. I got no comeback on that.
I love it. Andre, again, congrats on the gig, man. September 13th, live, exclusively on Netflix. I have called the fight of Canelo in a stadium, that AT&T Stadium fight from a few years ago. It's electric, man. It's going to be awesome, an awesome atmosphere in Las Vegas. Good luck to you, man, and always appreciate your time.
Appreciate it, bro. Thank you.